Hello, everyone out there in the world. Welcome back to the Creative Podcast. It is I, your host, Kayla, aka K Creates on Instagram. It's been a hot 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm feeling like podcasting again. I guess I'm not posting monthly, but twice a month, which it feels good for me, so hold me to that. Today we're going to be talking about the That Girl trend that's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, most namely, and also how social media as a whole has affected you guys as individuals. And by you guys, I mean anyone who follows me on Instagram, watches my stories, and just so happened on that day engaged with my stories, the polls, sent in something to say. We're going to go through all of it. But for now, my highs and lows. Okay, so my highs and lows for the past couple of weeks. My highs have been, I definitely feel a lot better and a lot more myself. I think it was because Mercury was in retrograde. I don't know. I'm not an astrologist and I'm not too deep into zodiac stuff, but I have a feeling that was it. I have a feeling that's what was messing with me. But I'm feeling good now. I'm feeling optimistic about life. I've taken a week off from work that starts next week. I'm trying to make some kind of exciting plans, maybe go out of town. I don't know. But I want to do something exciting with the week. I don't just want to spend it at home doing nothing like normal. I want to enjoy this sliver of a fully free summer next week. So I don't know, if you want to go on a road trip, hit me up. I'm trying to plan something for midweek because that's probably when things are going to be the absolute cheapest. So yeah. Other than that, I feel like work hasn't been as stressful, which also has helped with my mood. I've been taking vitamins every day for the past few days, and I feel like that has helped me a lot with my energy, and I don't feel like achy and sore and disgusting in the morning. And I just feel like good things are coming. I feel like I'm optimistic about my fall schedule that I spoke a little bit about on my YouTube channel. On my last video, it was like a paint with me, and I chit-chatted with the YouTube folk. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling optimistic. I feel like I was in quite a sad, funky state for the past couple of weeks. So more highs than lows this time. Let me see. Can I think of a low? I think my low is I feel like summer is ending. And I know it's not. It's July 12th. And the summer isn't over yet, but I feel like it's ending. And I feel like I have this pressure to like go and like find things to do and hang out with people more. And first of all, I don't even have a car. So I don't know how I'm expecting to like get all of these things done. But I don't know. I have that pressure on myself. And I feel like I've been really struggling with family recently. Like my family dynamic is, it's a quite interesting one. I don't really share it that much with people, besides for my boyfriend, and obviously my family members would know. But it's a struggle for me sometimes, and it really does wear on my mental health at times. But I've been living with them for years. I know all of their personality traits and things, little tiny things about them that irk my nerves. So I've kind of learned how to work through some of those things. But it has been getting to me more often lately. But, what are we going to do? Family is family. Hopefully I, get to go be an individual person and do what I want soon enough. And that's not just me speaking as a teenager, but that's me speaking as a human being who has rights as a human being to do those things. So there you have it, my highs and lows. Pretty quick this week, not gonna lie. let's get into what you all had to say about social media in general, and then we can wind down into the that girl trend and how it all ties in together. Okay, so the funny thing is, literally the first thing that I saw when I opened up my Instagram is a picture of someone's perfect fridge that's perfectly clean, perfect lighting, and it made me feel like, dang, I wish I had a fridge that was that beautiful and clean and well lit to where I could take a picture of it and it would fit in just perfectly with the Instagram aesthetic. And that's social media in a nutshell. But I'm gonna navigate over. Look at me using big words. Navigate over to the archive so then I can pull up the stories. Okay, I found it. So I actually didn't post as many stories as I thought. I just said listening to a podcast that posed an interesting question. By the way, the podcast was called Grow and Grind by Laura Medley. Yeah, she makes amazing content. You should definitely check it out. But it made me want to ask the story people, which version of yourself would you be better without... which version of yourself would you be without social media? And I put better me or worse me. 55% of people said that they would be a better version of themselves without social media, and 45% said that they would be a worse version of themselves without social media. And then on the next slide, I asked why, and I got an abundance of responses to this. So I'm going to break them down. Okay, so for the first one, Ilana said, less unrealistic expectations of beauty. Which is, yes. The next one, Haley VVW, said, I kind of seek approval from friends and family, and I sometimes feel like without social media, they wouldn't see my accomplishments. Ooh, I've never thought of it from this perspective. Like, you have to kind of wow. You have to kind of like trophy case your things, like, okay, I'm going to put this up. Look at what I did, congratulate me on this, because otherwise you're not going to see me and I'm just kind of invisible to you, which kind of sucks. I'm not going to judge this person. I don't know anything about their family, but it sucks that we have to feel that we have to kind of like put things out there in order for people to take notice of anything that we've ever done, Vomit X Bunny X said, I found the trans community on social media and they helped me notice that I am trans. See, this is a really positive part of social media. It helps us figure out who we are by engaging with other people, and sometimes other people don't know who they are, or sometimes other people do know who they are, and they can help guide you in a direction to figure out something else about yourself that you never would have known. So I love that. That's a really positive thing. Erica said she'd devote more time to hobbies than socials. I 100% agree on this one, because I feel, even though this is really hard to explain. Even though I consider posting on YouTube and making podcast episodes and sometimes even posting on Instagram a hobby, I feel like there are so many other hobbies that are considered more valuable in the world, because everybody can make a podcast and post episodes, about them talking about randomness. And everybody can make a YouTube video. Everybody can post on Instagram. So it feels like it's less valuable than, say, learning how to sew or knit or painting or making music or writing books or something like that, that seems, I don't know, more valued. But I feel like at this point that we're in now, it's still good if you're using your platform for good. And it shouldn't make it less valuable of a hobby, if that makes any sense. But I'm just thinking of it from a content creator's perspective, I guess. From the perspective of someone who mostly uses social media for like solely personal use and not to connect with an audience or anything like that, then I could see how it is like kind of a waste of time. So that's tough. That is tough. Sarah said, I would be more productive and won't be distracted. This kind of goes hand in hand with the last one. Katie Henson 083 said, I wouldn't be as hard on myself because I wouldn't have to worry about what makes me pretty. That's really sad. That's really, that's so sad, because it's like, why does Katie have to feel that way? You know, like why does social media make us feel like we have to hyper analyze ourselves and be so critical towards ourselves? I feel like it has something to do with the way that social media is set up, you know, with the whole numbers thing and the amount of followers you have and the amount of numbers you have. And then, you know, there's comparison. And if you look at one person's Instagram and, you know, you kind of post similar content and you're like, well, it must be because they're prettier than I am, which is why they're getting more likes than I am or something, or have more followers or more attention from people. And that just sucks. And then you have like the people who just set really unrealistic standards of beauty, and no hate to them, especially if they're doing it for themselves and it makes them happy. But at the same time, them putting it out there makes so many people sad and feel like they aren't enough. And Katie, you're enough. You really are. It's really hard to use social media as a measurement tool and like use it to measure yourself, because it's completely inaccurate. Everyone's different. And even if you go and you follow a bunch of people who look really similar, dress really similarly, speak the same, eat the same food, you know what I'm talking about, then it doesn't mean that you have to use like the same ruler to measure yourself. That's really sad. That made me sad. Anna Maddox says, social media has been a way to cope with mental illness and has helped me find my style. Okay, I love how we're like layering things here. Oh, / things that make me who I am. I do think some things would be better, but overall worse without social media, I think they mean. So, wait, I'm trying to like figure out what they're saying. Oh, okay. So things would be worse without social media. And I guess it's solely dependent on what you consume, you know, and what community you're a part of. Like earlier, Vomit Bunny was saying that they obviously have been a part of the trans community on social media, and it helped them discover that they were trans. And then Anna Maddox is saying it's helped them with their mental illness and helped them find their style. So it's like, in some ways, it's really helpful, and it helps you find out who you are, and it opens up, you know, your mind to new things and new ideas. But then it also can make you feel like really bad about yourself. I guess it's all dependent on like who you follow, who you interact with, and who you idolize, pretty much. Allie Martin says, I'd lose half my friends, LOL. And that, oh my gosh, that alone, I think, is a pressure that people feel all the time. And I think that's the reason why people even stay on social media when they don't want to, because everyone has it. Like, the first thing that people ask for, including myself, isn't even your phone number anymore. It's not like, oh, hi, how are you? Wow, you're a really cool person. I'd like to, see you again or hang out with you again or, like, stay in contact. You're not, like, exchanging phone numbers. If it's someone who's, like, not networking for a job and is under the age of 25, it's kind of like, what's your Instagram? What's your Snapchat? Like, that's the way that we keep up with each other instead of just like phone number or, I don't know, email. But it's kind of weird to be communicating over email like that. Phone number or WhatsApp, I guess. I know a lot of people in other countries use WhatsApp heavily to communicate with each other. So I definitely understand that. I've definitely been that person who's like, what's your Instagram before I ask for your phone number? Because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's this is really bad. That's a really bad thing that I do, though. Like, it's easier to just let that relationship waste away because you feel like you've connected with them online and you're like, oh, hold on. Would it be a podcast episode with me if I was not interrupted at least once? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Anyway, I was criticizing myself, rightfully so, because I feel like it's easier to connect with someone online and be like, oh yeah, we're friends on the internet. And then you kind of let that relationship just waste away because you're like, oh, I'm following them. I get to see what they're doing all the time, on their social media. Ugh, that's actually disgusting. I actually don't like that. You know what? I might sway from never asking for someone's social media again. And sometimes is it surprising? Okay, it's not surprising when I ask for someone's social media and they're like, oh, I don't have any. I'm not surprised and I'm not like, oh, you ghastly person, why aren't you on Instagram? But it does kind of remind me that social media really is not the entire world. And it shouldn't be my number one point of contact all the time. Like, it's cool to engage with my friends on social media, but that shouldn't be the only way that we engage. And I feel like that's the reason why people don't talk on the phone anymore. And, like, people don't like to call each other because you see your social media posts, you see whatever they're doing online, and then it's just like, oh yeah, I know what they're doing. I don't need to catch up or invest time in fostering this relationship with this person because I see them all the time on social media. Does that make sense? I feel like I kind of talked in circles there, but if you got something from that, then I am glad. Kaya Alicia, I think I'm saying that right, says, I don't know, but social media helps me feel better about myself. That's a good thing. I'd say that's definitely a positive. As long as it's, a healthy thing and it's not kind of like, this is a really dirty way to think about it. But I know that some people use social media to follow people who boost their ego, and in the worst sense. Like, they follow people who they think they're prettier or more successful than, or have a better life than, to make them feel like, oh, well, they're doing a terrible job in life, or they're not as pretty as I am, or they don't have this as much as I do, so I'm better than them, I'm pretty sure that's not what they're saying, but there is also that side to it. And hey, this is a wake-up call. If you do that, you probably shouldn't, because it's really unhealthy for you. And it's not going to help you in the long run. It's actually probably damaging your confidence in yourself. So, yeah. Lastly, Samra Mojo said, social media keeps me happy. Again, I don't really know what they mean by that. It kind of sounds like escapism in a way. And I'm not saying that social media being escapism is a bad thing, because trust me, I run to YouTube the moment I need to fill the void that is in my brain. I'm like, oh, yeah, watching a vlog right now would definitely make me feel a little more optimistic about life. Hearing other people talk about their lives and how they're feeling and what's keeping them going motivates me in a way. And I would say that it keeps my mood uplifted a little bit, because I'm like, okay, this is another person on earth living their life, doing things, and still finding the good out of, I don't know, everything that's going on. So I can see how social media can keep you happy in that way, because it's a good way to escape. And also there are a lot of more scientific studies and backings talking about the dopamine rush that you get from social media. But on the other end, that can be extremely addictive. So it's all about balance and fine lines and all of that. But that's the segment speaking about what you all had to say about social media and how it makes you feel. So now I'm going to talk about the that girl trend and how I feel about that. Okay, so if you're not sure what that girl means, it's basically this thing that started on TikTok, and it's about the ideal woman. She's living on her own in this beautiful apartment. She works out or does yoga every day. She gets up at 5 a.m. She drinks water with cucumbers and lemons. She drinks green smoothies and matcha tea and coffee, and she's living her best, healthiest life. Essentially, she's like the perfect girl. And every generation has their ideal perfect girl, where this is her for us. This is our perfect girl, that girl. And I feel like a lot of the images that we get behind this is very privileged. It's a very privileged lifestyle to have, because not everyone can live in a high rise with stainless steel appliances and marble countertops, wood flooring, the best of the best kind of furniture, the best of the best clothing, access to yoga classes, access to workout equipment, and access to just all of these things that make that girl that girl. Some people don't even have a window in their room, but that girl has 5 to 6 windows in her apartment, and she opens them all up, and the sun is rushing through, and everything's glowy and beautiful, and just the weather's great every day. It never rains apparently for that girl, and she goes on her morning jogs, and it's all a lie. It's all freaking fake. I'm sorry to tell you. I mean, some people actually do live lifestyles like that, but it rains, and there are things that happen that are not perfect that we don't get to see, because social media is not objective. It's very subjective, and whatever people put out on social media is not the whole truth. So every version of that girl that you've ever seen out there has struggled with something, has probably struggled with comparison and mental health just like you do, and etc., etc. But I don't want to make excuses for that girl, because that girl also has to be mindful of the content that she puts out and the way that she makes people feel and the way that she responds to those people. Because I feel like even I have fallen subject to the that girl, aesthetic videos and routines and things like that, and only showing highlight reels of my life because it's what makes me feel good to look back on those things and edit those things and say, wow, this is a good part of my life that I enjoyed and that made me feel good. But on the other end, I do have responsibility to the people that I'm trying to connect with to also let them know that this isn't every day and that my life is far from perfect. So, yeah, I feel like, again, going back to the privilege thing, not everyone has all of those things that make someone that girl, but that doesn't mean that they can't feel good about themselves in the same way that that girl does, if that makes sense. Like, you don't have to go to your local Starbucks and head to your Soul Cycle class if you don't have a Soul Cycle or a Starbucks in your neighborhood. And that's not the only thing that can make you feel good about yourself. Simple things like just taking a shower sometimes can help you feel good about yourself. Or eating something that you love can make you feel just as good about yourself as that girl. Like, being that girl and having all of those things doesn't make that person any happier than you are in those moments when you're doing what's best for you. So, I guess I could give a better example. Let me think. Okay. So, the ideal day for that girl is waking up at 5 a.m., going on a run. Possibly. But maybe for you, you don't like to wake up at 5 a.m. and you don't like running. Me. Both of those. I hate running. I don't like waking up early in the morning. So an alternative to that could be going, I don't know, on a walk after work, or walking to work and listening to podcast or music or something that you like, or anything that will give you more time to think and take things a little bit slower. And I know that we hate thinking. I know escapism is so much easier than thinking, but I'm telling you, it helps you feel a lot better about yourself when you slow down and allow yourself to think and process and feel emotions. Even if you get angry, even if you cry, it's okay to do that, and it's okay to take that time. I think that that's the main part of the entire that girl thing. Taking your time to do what makes you feel best in your day and not rushing through things, and taking the time that you can. And I know that it's privileged in and of itself to say, oh, well, take time to do things, because a lot of us don't have the time to do things. At least a lot of the people I know don't have that time and that luxury to, just skate by in life and, do everything as slowly or as quickly as they want to, because we have responsibilities that sometimes we just literally cannot control. But in the instances where you can be very present and enjoy just a few moments of solitude and enjoy slowing things down, it could really help you a lot. So that's one tip on how you could be that girl without all of the extra fancy. And the that girl thing also has a lot to do with healthy eating. And I know that eating is a really sore subject for a lot of people because eating does not it comes with negative connotations that make people feel bad about themselves. And I don't like that that girl trend makes it feel like, it's easy to eat, or it's easy to find things to eat, or it's easy to buy things to eat. Because not everyone buys their groceries from Trader Joe's. Like, I don't even have a Trader Joe's 20 minutes away from me. Some people only have a Walmart hours away from them. And it's not realistic at all to be like, oh, just go, pick out healthy foods from Trader Joe's and bring it home and cook it. And it's just not that simple for everybody. And I feel like it makes it feel unobtainable, and like you can't feel happy with what you eat on a daily basis if it's not acai bowls or green smoothies or chicken salads, and that's just the absolute false. That's the absolute false. That's not the truth at all. I don't eat like that every day, and that's okay. I eat what my body is happy with me eating, and I eat when I feel like I can. And I know that's really hard for a lot of people, just even feeling the urge to eat. And I really am hoping that you can get through it if you are having a hard time eating. And I'm not the person to be here, it's so important to nourish your body. Your body loves you. You know this. I just really, really, really hope and pray that you can get through it. Because it's really hard. It's hard to do normal, everyday, functioning things. And I'm sorry that you're struggling with that. It makes me really, really sad. It really does. It's not something that's foreign to me. And I know that you can get through it. I know that you can make it through it. It's a really hard time, and it's a really hard thing to try to navigate through, especially when people don't understand and when people kind of positivity block you and are just like, just feed your body. It's so good to you. Your body loves you. You don't want to hear that all the time. But for real though, don't compare your eating habits or your life to anyone else's. I feel like there's also been a trend where people do like what I eat in a days on TikTok, and they like show what they're eating, and then they flip the camera around and then they show that they're eating it. And those are fun because I like getting recipe ideas or food ideas, different ideas for foods that I can make, because I'm kind of getting into cooking and I kind of enjoy it, blah, blah, blah. Not to go on a tangent. But for people who are dealing with having a hard time eating, that's a hard thing to see all the time. It's just like everywhere. So I'm really sorry that it's negatively affecting you, and I wish that more people understood it. And I wish that more people understood you as a person. And I'm sending you the most positivity because I know it's hard. Aside from eating, I kind of talked about the exercise thing. I kind of talked about food. What else is there about that girl? That girl generally looks similar to what the media in general likes for us to think is the majority in this world. And I'm just to be completely blunt and honest with you. And if you can't be here for the blunt and honesty, then I'm sorry, you're on the wrong podcast. Okay. But that girl is not always white. She's not always skinny. She doesn't always have blonde hair. And yeah, she doesn't always have blue eyes. You know, it's definitely no. You can be your version of that girl and still be just as happy as her. Does that make sense? Not to say strive to be that girl, but just striving for that happiness that seems so unobtainable. I am black. I do not have long, straight hair. I have 4C natural hair. Most of the time I wear it in an afro. And I still think that I am feeling great. I'm feeling positive about myself. And I still think that I'm beautiful in my own way. And that's not me saying, well, I think I'm beautiful, so you should too. But that's me saying that however you look, you're beautiful in your own way. And it's up to you to really sit down and recognize those traits about yourself that make you feel beautiful. Not make you look beautiful, but make you feel beautiful. Even if you're not, identifying as a female, you can still feel beautiful. So, yeah, not everyone is a white girl, okay? With blue eyes, blonde hair, skinny. Like, that's just not realistic at all. It's not even close to realistic. And you can be just as happy as that girl is without being the same as that girl. Another thing I wanted to touch on is self-care. And self-care, the entire market of self-care has really taken quite the turn within the past 10 years, I feel like. Before, I feel like self-care was kind of sectioned off only for people who are rich and who could afford routine things like getting their nails done, getting massages, getting pedicures, It was only sectioned off for rich people who could afford to do that. But now it's a more obtainable thing, but people kind of put self-care in the form of products and not what you're actually doing to take care of yourself. So, for instance, most people correlate self-care with a face mask. Why? Because people have told them that that's what self-care is. And even I have fallen subject to this. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have a self-care night, then that means I have to have a bubble bath and I have to put on a face mask. Child, I don't need a face mask. Face masks dry out my skin more than anything else. And most of the time my skin is better without a face mask. So the ultimate form of self-care in that situation would be to absolutely not use a face mask, even if I feel like I'm taking moments of self-care. Similar thing with, let me think. Similar thing with buying things that you don't need. And this is not me to judge, because I buy things that I don't need all the time. But it's become popular within recent years to spend $500 on Fashion Nova or Shein or Princess Polly or whatever the heck influencers are being sponsored with and be like, oh, this is an act of self-care. Like, girl, that is not no act of self-care. You can claim that, but I don't. I absolutely would not consider spending $500 on things that I don't need, on just random foolishness, self-care. And I try to never say that. Like, even if I am considerably wasting money on something, I'm not like, oh, this is self-care. I'm just like, I want it. I have the finances. I've been blessed enough. I'm going to buy it. That's it. Simple as that. You don't have to make excuses about it. But, like, calling it self-care is completely, it's kind of irresponsible in a way if you are a content creator and you're putting out content that says that buying things that you don't need is self-care. Because if you have clothes to put on your back and they're clean and you feel comfortable in them, then you don't need those clothes, and it's not self-care. You're not caring for yourself. To mindlessly spend money on things that you really don't need. It's not self-care. I don't care what anybody says. And a lot of that girls will tell you that. Like, don't listen to them. Don't take that advice, okay? Remember, a lot of people are only influencers for the money, and they get sponsorships and things like that. Not saying everyone, but a lot of people are. So take everything that they say, especially when it regards buying products, spending money, with a grain of salt, because a lot of the times that stuff is not entirely true. Okay, I talked about dedicating your time to yourself. Okay, one more thing. I want to talk about making decisions. And a lot of the times it looks like that girl knows how to make all of the proper decisions to make her life the most beautiful, aesthetically pleasing life that it can be. When you really don't know what kinds of decisions that girl has had to make on the back end to get that life that you want so badly. You don't know. You don't know what she's had to go through to get that high-rise apartment, to get that matching Lululemon exercise whatever outfit, to get anything that she has or anything that she's presenting. So with that being said, we can feel like we want to move so fast in life, and we can feel like we want to achieve these goals, look like this person, have these things that this person has. We can compare our lives to theirs, and then we start to make rash and unreasonable decisions that don't benefit us according to the aesthetic that's been presented to us. And for instance, for a good example, if I were to compare my life to that girl's, I would be like, well, to be that girl, I have to be a financially independent woman and I have to live on my own. So I guess I'm going to move out now and I can literally go out and look around and try to get an apartment that is way beyond my means right now financially, and say, well, I'm just going to borrow money from the bank for this apartment. So I borrow money from the bank, I get a loan, and then I'm looking like that girl, but I'm in an apartment that I really can't afford, and I'm in years of debt because I want to look like that girl. When, in all honesty, I'm not that girl. I'm just that person in debt. That's it. I'm not that girl at all. So the point here is try not to look at the aesthetics of what you see on social media and say, well, if I want my life to be like theirs, I need to make it happen as quickly as possible, or I'm invalid as a person. My life is invalid. I'm not as pretty as they are. I'm not as important as they are. I don't have the weight that they have. I don't carry the weight that they do when they walk into a room, confidence-wise. And it can be so easy to feel like because you don't have all of these things that they have and you're not doing all of these things that they do, that you can't be as happy as they are And I've been saying this the entire episode, but that's just so not true. And making rash decisions that can negatively affect your life because you're trying to fit that narrative and be that girl so bad is really doing you more harm than good. And I see this happen all the time. I've seen people literally like change their whole life around, take out a bunch of loans, and do all of these crazy things just to fit a certain narrative and look like a certain person and dress like a certain person and, try to mimic their behaviors because they want to be as happy or seemingly as happy as that person puts themselves out to be. But that's just not entirely what's up. And you definitely shouldn't be putting yourself in a worse position for yourself later on. You want to be as nice to future you as you can, okay? Be very gentle with them. They're very impressionable. Treat them as a child, if you will. And you wouldn't want to put future you in any situations that you don't want to deal with. Sure, you feel like you're doing the best thing that you can now, but it really might not be, and you really might just be trying to live up to standards that are not fit for you. So, with all of that being said, that's how I feel about that girl. I debunked a lot of things. I gave you a lot of tips. And I hope that you come away from this not saying, well, I have to do everything that she said, but saying I have to do everything I can for myself. And yeah. And I want to tell a little story about when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was very, very blessed, very privileged to not have to have taken the bus. Now, I know a lot of y'all are rolling your eyes. This girl, she don't even take the bus. What does she know about struggle? But no, like, y'all, I've seen struggle in other ways, but I did not have to take the bus most years of my high school experience. But in senior year, I had to take the bus. I didn't have a car. And the whole thing of that just rubbed me the wrong way. I felt like I should have had a car by then. I felt like I should have had myself more together. What was I thinking? Why am I not like the rest of these senior girls who just pull off in the car that their parents bought for them? And why do I have to take the bus, right? And thinking back on that, I enjoyed the moments when I had to walk home from the bus stop. I enjoyed the moments when I sat on the bus and I was able to have conversations with people I normally would not have ever seen throughout the school day. And that's not to say that the bus is a luxurious experience that everybody wants to have, or even to say that your experience taking the bus has been that pleasurable. But that is to say that looking back on it in hindsight, it really wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be. And I really did quite enjoy it, even though I didn't want to admit it. There was something about walking home from the bus for, 15 minutes and having something to listen to, or even sitting on the bus with something to listen to, or talking to people on the bus, or all of these things that I thought were so bad at the moment. I'm just like, I wish I was in my BMW driving home, but in that instance, being on the bus and walking home from the bus stop after school was better for me. And that's what I learned from that experience. So I think this is a shorter episode today, but thank you so much for listening. And if you loved it and you were amening and yes, sister, and all of this the whole way through, then please take a few seconds out of your day and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It will help this podcast get out to anyone else who may be interested in hearing what I have to say, and anyone else who can benefit from hearing what I have to say. So if you have a moment to do that, please do so. Or if you're driving or washing dishes or cooking or busy or something at the time, then try to remember to do it later, because it would really, really, really help me out. And you can also follow me on Instagram at KCreates to keep up with my stories, because I post a lot of polls on there, and you never know when I'll pull the poll or the response answers and throw them into a podcast, and then you can hear me say your name and be like, wow, I said something that she's talking about, like I'm contributing to the podcast, which you should feel really great about, because without you, I wouldn't have half as many perspectives. So thank you in advance. And I will talk to you all in the next episode, probably in the next 2 weeks. Stay safe out there. Stay in love with yourself. I know it's hard, but you can't break up with yourself, okay? And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.